G'day everyone, this is the first in my series of top 10 grand finals of the AFL era, 1990 onwards. Tough task, but I'm going to have a crack. And coming in at number 10 is one of the older grand finals in this countdown. We're going back to 1997 and a historic premiership win for Adelaide, the Crows' first triumph, and heartbreak for St Kilda. Sadly, so often the hard luck story of the competition. Looked like that wasn't going to be the case in 1997. The Saints had finished the home and away season on top of the ladder, had progressed to the grand final with a really good win over Brisbane in a qualifying final, and then upending reigning premier North Melbourne in a preliminary final. Looked for all the world like they were going to be taking on another Cinderella club in the Western Bulldogs, but of course the Bulldogs famously stumbled at the penultimate hurdle thanks to the Crows, who came from the clouds in a famous preliminary final win, coming from 22 points down at three-quarter time to beat the Bulldogs. Of course, the Bulldogs missing a succession of chances. And if you listen to some Bulldog supporters, nailing one that should have taken them through thanks to Tony Liberatore. Darren Jarman, the hero in that game for the Crows, going to full forward after Tony Modra had injured his knee, taking him out of the equation, and the Crows getting up. They would go into this grand final underdogs by a fair bit. The Saints expected to prevail, but it didn't pan out like that. There was a dramatic build-up to this game too. St Kilda certainly not having a lot of luck in the lead up. Nicky Winmar's father, very sadly, passing away on grand final eve. Stuart Lowe also having to deal with a major family drama on the eve of the big game. Certainly didn't stop the Saints getting off to a good start, though. They made all the running early. Actually trailed by 2 points at quarter time, but it had the bulk of the play. Highlight for them early on, a fantastic running goal from Aussie Jones, a 5-bounce effort running along the outer side wing and finishing it off with a goal after a nice 1-2 with Andrew Thompson. And in the second quarter, St Kilda actually took complete charge, a fantastic burst from Barry Hall, who kicked 3 goals in a very short space of time, giving the Saints a pretty healthy lead. Adelaide had tried a few things, and some of them had really worked. One notable move, Shane Ellen, a regular defender, going to the forward line. He kicked some early goals for the Crows and would finish off with a real bang after actually moving back to defence. So Malcolm Blight pulling a surprise move out there. Adelaide had managed to stay in the contest though and trailed by only 13 points at half time. They really made the running though at the start of the third quarter. Sean Wren getting on top in the ruck. Andrew McLeod becoming an absolute force in this game. He was controlling the centre square. Robert Harvey picking up his usual swag of touches for the Saints, but couldn't quite have the same influence he normally had. Ditto for Nathan Burke, unfortunately, for the Saints. So three-quarter time, the Crows gradually working their way on top, led by 10 points at the last change. Still anyone's game, but thus was about to begin one of the great individual grand final quarters played by any person, and that was Darren Jarman. He, of course, had gone forward after Tony Modra had been hurt the previous week. Jarman turned it on in that last term as few players were capable of, and he would rattle off 5 goals, a couple of marks out in front of his hapless opponent, Jamie Shanahan, a couple of incredible snaps over the shoulder. Sean Wren by now dominating the ruck, and the Crows piled it on in the last term. One of the great last quarters of grand final football played in the modern era. They actually would ram on 8 goals straight. St Kilda desperately trying to hang in there, managed 4 goals of their own, but by the last 10 minutes it became a bit of a procession. In the end, the Crows winning their first flag, running away by 31 points. Still a fantastic game this. The storylines were good. The standard was good. It was pretty free scoring for a modern day grand final. And of course, the Crows achieving a major slice of history, actually becoming the first side to win a premiership by winning 4 finals. Other notable points about this, Shane Ellen, I mentioned him earlier, would go on and kick 5 goals. He'd actually only kicked 3 career goals in 30 plus games prior to this day, bobbed up with 5 goals to become one of those great grand final trivia questions. And for the Saints, just one of those sad days. Nothing would seem to go right for them. They were well beaten in the finish. Adelaide, of course, would go on and win a second successive premiership, probably in even more remarkable circumstances the following year when they came from 5th to win a flag. Remarkable effort, really. Couldn't happen in today's Final 8 system, of course, but it could back in the late 90s. Let's have a quick look at the scores. As you can see, pretty even early on. The Saints taking charge in that second term and leading by 13 points at halftime. Adelaide, though, 6-1 in that third term, a crucial period of dominance for them, and coming home with an absolute bang, 8 goals straight in that final term to the Saints, 4 goals 3. Jarman, 6 goals for the Victors, and Shane Ellen, 5. Troy Bond playing a fine game too, chipping in with 4. There's 15 goals between those 3 players. I don't think you would have been banking on that before this game started. For the Saints, 3 to Hall, 3 to Heatley, and 2 to Lowe, who battled on despite that difficulty in his preparation. Norm Smith medal would be won by Andrew McLeod. The first of 2 in a row for McLeod. A brilliant game from him on the ball, 31 disposals. And Jarman, 5 goals in that last quarter, 6 of the game. Couldn't have been far behind. Shane Ellen, the surprise packet. Troy Bond, David Pittman playing a sturdy game. Sean Wren, supreme in the ruck. For the Saints, Aussie Jones battled really hard all day. Nathan Burke and Robert Harvey picking up their usual swag of touches without having the same impact we'd been used to from them during the year. And Barry Hall, that cameo in the second quarter, which at that stage looked like it might be set to deliver the Saints that long-awaited premiership. A famous premiership win for the Crows, the first of 2 in a row, and for St Kilda, sadly, not the last narrow grand final loss they would have. And sorry to say this, Saints fans, you're going to have a couple more bobbing up a bit later in this list. Last number 10 in my list of top 10 AFL grand finals from 1990 to the present day. I'll see you back here for number 9.